The Kingdom of Kerry sadly lost its king, and Gaels all over Ireland lost the greatest of all time. As a kid growing up in County Down, we were mesmerised by the teams of one man, and that man was Mick O'Dwyer. His teams didn't play football, they made magic, and Micko cast those spells like no other. Mick O'Dwyer wasn't just a brilliant player and an even better manager. He changed football in the GAA forever with a passion for the game, a love for his teams, and a vision for the future that few reached before or since. We're extending our sympathy and sending our love to Mick's family and friends tonight, and we're honoured to be joined by some of those friends to remember a god of the game. As the removal service took place tonight in his beloved Waterville, we recorded this piece a wee bit earlier today with some of those who helped make some of these amazing memories.
It's Mick O'Dwyer. Mick O'Dwyer with it now, shaking off Kenny Kearns, getting inside the shot. Algie's running to the ball and it's over the bar. Shame on them, my Gilomar. Shame on his Gilomar. Comes back to Mick O'Dwyer. Mick O'Dwyer quickly over the bar. Shoots on the wing, it's a goal!
This year's Leinster football champions.
Jack O'Shea, you played under Mick in that brilliant team, the 70s and 80s in Kerry. A huge loss for Irish sport, for Gaels all over the world, but in Kerry in particular, what did he mean to the people of Kerry?
Well, I suppose when you talk about Kerry football, you could talk about Mick O'Dwyer, because he probably gave so many years of his life to the game down in Kerry. He gave the start to so many people like me, the chance to play in Ireland final, the chance to represent your county, and he was instrumental in a lot of players getting that achievement of playing the All-Ireland final. But he was a phenomenal man, a phenomenal football man, and I think he showed with his results he got with the Kerry teams, he showed how involved he was with them.
I mean, when you heard him talk, when you saw him on the sideline, he had that passion, he had a zest for life, and he never lost it.
No, he never lost. He was a rogue as well, you know. You couldn't be up to him, but he had a fantastic way of getting around fellas. He had a fantastic way of creating a good atmosphere in training. He was able to create great competitiveness in training, which, you know, I often say to fellas, he was probably the best referee that ever was there, because he never blew the whistle. He let everything go.
I mean, you were part of that gospel, Jimmy Deenahan. You played with Mick. You also were managed by Mick. What was he like to be managed by?
What I really got to know him was in trips to New York, and both of us played with Kerry in New York, and I had great times there with him. He'd pick me up down in NCP in Limerick on a Friday. Nobody believed that I was heading off to New York, and we'd go off and spend the weekend in New York and have a great time together. But he was special, and he was one of the greatest trainers ever. I trained on a lot of people, but he was one of the greatest trainers ever. There were 6 PE teachers on that Kerry team, but he never asked one of us ever for any bit of advice. It was his own way or no way.
He was a one-man band, wasn't he? I mean, he was doing like 14 different jobs all on his own.
He was a psychologist, he was a manager, he was the trainer, he nearly was the physio. He did it all, and the nutritionist as well. So, like, he was really something different. He was a one-off. There was no one ever like him. Before or since, in all fairness to the man.
Des, you headed down to the Kerryman. You were working in the Kerryman. What was he like when he realised you were from Dublin?
Well, he was suspicious of me. We were mutually suspicious in that I had come from Dublin. You know, we'd watched Jimmy's team in the early 70s as an older teenager. Then a couple of years later, I'm down there. And it was I was on the hill and they were all the cultures and all day, and suddenly I'm there, I'm the man. Eamon Horn and John Barry covered all the lads' matches, and I came into this, and he couldn't understand why a dub came down to Kerry. Why would you come down here? You know, I said I wanted to learn how to be a cuter like the other lads, and they gave me a great training, in fairness. But he was the lads would tell you he'd need to get to know you, I think, to trust you. But once he trusted me, as the years went on, subsequently he was always really good to me when he was with Laois, Kildare. So he always had a special time for me, I think, because I had put in my time in Kerry, and he respected that.
Loyalty was a big thing for him, wasn't it?
It was a big thing. I think once he trusted you, then he was very loyal to me and very helpful to me because of that. I was saying yesterday he was also, even though I didn't ask for it, a regular monitor of my weight issues as I went up and down. He'd come into a room and look at me and he'd hold his hands out and, geez, you're getting stronger. Or, and then if I lost weight, you're not as strong as you were the last time. And he kept going with that every time, and then until about 3 years ago I said, well, am I stronger or weaker? And he says, I'll give you advice. Don't bother losing weight now. And I said, why not? He says, your face, you have a lovely round face. He says, it'll all collapse if you lose weight now. So I'll always think of that.
Marty Morrissey, you were a great friend of Micko's. You're giving the reflection tomorrow at the funeral. People talk about him as a brilliant manager, but people sometimes overlook the fact of what an amazing player he was. 3 different decades he won All-Irelands in.
Well, I'm deeply honoured to be asked to do the reflection at the Mass tomorrow. Micko and myself, I admired Micko from afar. I admired this Kerry team from afar because in Clare we loved Kerry. They were our heroes, except when they came to Milltown Malbay in 1979 and scored 9 goals and 21 points to 1 goal and 9 in the Munster Championship.
27 points.
Was it 27? There you go. I was trying to delete a few there. And he said, I'm sorry about that, Martin. I might go back to Clare someday and manage it, and he did. But I remember I was doing, I think, a sports stadium thing or a Saturday sport with Des, and we needed a clip from Micko, and he was training Johnny and the lads in Kildare at the time. And I said, Micko, any chance would you do an interview with me for Sports Stadium? Well, now, Marty, I'm in Waterville. It's a long way to Kildare. But sure, look, I'll be up there at 3 o'clock tomorrow. I said, gee, Mick, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I was in a bit of bother if you didn't do it. No problem, bye. But what I didn't know until I met him was he had training with the Kildare lads, so he was coming up anyway. Well, I felt so guilty until he gave me a wink. And I must say we've been friends since 89, and I love the ground that he walked on.
And he didn't change just football on the pitch. He changed football off the pitch as well. When you think about the Adidas deal and the Bendex, advert.
He was way ahead of the commercial world that we didn't know anything about. And the photograph with the lads, which I know Jack has a Sacred Heart light underneath it to keep him smiling, keep him young. But, the Bendix, the Adidas, this was Micko back in the 1980s. Imagine, we're in 2025 now.
It was groundbreaking stuff. We actually have a little clip here of Micko talking about the Adidas deal back then.
We made an agreement with Adidas at the time that I give £20,000 to a fund which we were organising to go on a world tour. So 20,000 was massive money at the time. But the association came down on us. We were fined £500 at the time for wearing the Adidas gear, but we had got 20,000, so it was a good deal.
He asked a lot from the players, Jimmy, but he put you guys first as well, didn't he?
Very much so. From the point of view of diet, for example, he insisted that we had steak, and then when we started looking for something else, we had fish or chicken. And also for gear, he always insisted that we had proper gear going out, and that's why the Adidas deal that time. And we took an iconic photograph actually with that with that team and that gear. And
I actually had that poster in my bedroom, the Adidas poster.
Right.
The illegal one, yeah.
But also, he made sure that we got proper expenses. Those people who were driving cars to training, and he put a lot of pressure on Croke Park to give more to players. Say he influenced the setting up of the GPA, and he wanted actually that anyone that reached an All-Ireland, they should get at least 25k a man, and should be scaled back down. That never happened. But certainly he was really interested in player welfare, and we always had a physio training even back then. So he was way ahead of his time.
The PE teachers thought they were ahead of everybody else.
Nobody was ahead of anybody when Mick's training. Mick's training was legendary.
It's my way or no way. He said, yeah, legendary. He with the laps and that sort of stuff, and he created a great atmosphere in training. Like as I said, he never blew the whistle. I remember nights in Killarney, we'd be playing matches, and he said, "Geez, I better blow this up." He said, "Someone's going to get injured." He'd be talking about that. But I think Micko was happiest then when he was at the training sessions if he saw fellas struggling. You know, the more he could get fellas to struggle, the better. And we used to do these runs from one side of the field to the other. So we used to call it wire-to-wires. So he'd give me 3 wire-to-wires in succession. He might put Jimmy with me in the first, he put Ger Power with me in the second, and maybe John O'Keefe in the third, the 3 fastest fellas in the team to really check me out. And when I used to touch the wire the third time on the far side, I used to turn around and say, I'm nearly getting sick, but no way would I give in to him. No. Because if you gave in to Micko the wire, that's what he loved. He wanted everybody to work hard.
I mean, he wanted you to work hard, but the other thing was that you would occasionally get, you know, a lift home from training, just maybe not in the vehicle you thought you were going to be in.
Yeah, that was a funny incident in Tralee one time. We were training in Tralee. I don't know why we were training in Tralee. It must be for the league game or league final or something. He picked me up in Carsavine and we went in a Mercedes and we went up to Tralee to training. So we trained, finished the training, got into the Mercedes, went back down to the Imperial Hotel in Tralee to eat our steaks or whatever we were getting. And the next thing, a fella came in and gave him a set of keys. And Micko gave him back a set of keys. I was looking at this and I said, no, what's happening here? So anyhow, we would get up and we were going out and we were going off. And he says, oh, we have to go up here and collect the woman, he said, to bring her home with us. We got, what was outside with a hearse? He was an undertaker as well. We ended up going to Carsavine with a coffin in the back of the hearse. And that's how he went home on training. Went to training in America, came home in a hearse. Not many fellas do that.
Brilliant. And sometimes the training was that hard, you might have been home in the hearse yourself.
I could be in the hearse myself, yeah.
Johnny Doyle, he achieved so much with Kerry that, you know, some people forget the success he had after Kerry.
Oh, it's really hard to describe how he changed Kildare. I mean, I remember the county final in 1990 where he was introduced to the crowd and it was literally like the Messiah had arrived. St. Conan's Park was absolutely jammed to the rafters and of course he duly played to the crowd and waved all around him. It was like the Pope had arrived and it was just such an exciting time. And we, you know, Kildare had played had been beaten by Kilkenny in the O'Byrne Cup, and within 12 months we were playing in the National League final. So like it's unheard of what he brought, and obviously I consider myself very lucky. You know, I was a supporter. I supported Kildare all through his early times, and then was lucky enough to arrive in the dressing room in '99 just after the All-Ireland, and what a special time it was. But I suppose the big thing for me, and you know, we'll hear all these brilliant stories, and he was a brilliant people's man. He was a brilliant trainer and motivator, and you know, great man to be in his presence. But he was hugely competitive, Patrick. He really was. He wanted to win more than anything else. And I remember we trained on the Thursday night before a National League game, and I was picked to play. And I remember saying to the doctor, Danny Mulville, I had a small little bit of a rash on my back, and he looked at it and he said, John, you have shingles. He said, you'll be playing no football. And I had to go in and tell Micko I wasn't able to play. And I was like, how am I going to tell Micko this? And he said, well, you know, where did you get that? How did you know? And he said, well, the doc said I can't play. So out he went, found the doc, back 5 minutes later. The doc says, you're okay. So in other words, we're putting the best team out. Away you go.
You're talking about that 98 year. I mean, Des, where does that sit in Micko's achievement? That brilliant semi-final against Kerry and Paddy O'Shea. And
yeah, well, you see, I think obviously what he achieved with his own native Kerry is unrelated to All-Irelands. But I think what he did for Kildare and Laois and Wicklow was massive in the joy. I mean, the pictures that we're seeing now from Croke Park in '98 from Kildare when the final all white, the blue and white we saw there earlier when Laois were playing, it was incredible. Laois never had days like that. Wicklow, I was reading, won't be 3 Ulster counties in 3 weeks in a row, including Down, Cavan and Fermanagh. I mean, that was incredible for Wicklow. So he gave counties hope and belief, and players hope and belief.
I mean, Ross Munley, whenever you're sitting in a dressing room and you're playing for Laois and Mick O'Dwyer walks in, I mean, what is the feeling running out for Mick O'Dwyer?
Yeah, it was when he walks into a dressing room, you know, Micko was absolutely box office, and he brought so much with him and so much expectation. And you knew standing in front of you in the dressing room, this guy is a born winner. And the more he spoke about winning and the more he spoke about achieving things, he just brought us with him. And he made us believe that we can be in touch and distance of doing real good things. And Jacko talked about him testing you physically, but he would test you mentally as well on the training field. Like small comments like, are you practicing your freeze? Are you passing the ball to the man in the best position? Are you catching the ball first time without dropping it? all these little things constantly in your ear and reinforcing the basics of the game. And those things are still the basics of the game today. But Micko built every single training session around the basics, making sure that you did all of those things right 100% of the time. And you knew going out onto the field, you know, our football will match and beat whoever we're come up against. And that period where he was with us for 6 years, or 4 years, 3 Leinster finals, and to win in 2003 just sent Laois into overdrive, and something we will be forever grateful for.
After 57 years.
Particularly, I think that you missed out that you didn't get Micko to go up and train down. You could have won the senior all
He wasn't that good. He wouldn't have got that out of me, to be fair.
Even that picture of him in the background, I think, look how chiselled he is and how he's film star stuff
Hollywood
there, isn't he?
star, yeah. It really
Marty
does.
in front of him now, the pair of them now together. But isn't he? I think Marty and I were talking about it earlier. He was such a handsome man, strong, fine man, you know.
Marty, he leaves a huge hole. He leaves a huge legacy. What's Micko's legacy, do you think?
I know Micko always said, wasn't I lucky to be born in Kerry? And Kerry, he loved Kerry, but he was not just of the kingdom. To me, he was of Ireland, because every county in Ireland loved Micko. He brought communication, he brought a smile, he brought a love of football to all of us, and we were all inspired by him, whether you were from Kerry or not. And I know what he leaves behind, I suppose. From my point of view, I remember I asking Micko, could I talk to Ross? Well, talk away, boy, there's no problem whatsoever. Now there's kind of, it's difficult enough at times to get players to talk, but Micko wanted the players to talk because they were the greatest ambassadors. He was giving. He wasn't holding on to the power himself. He was a giver. But all I can say is we will never forget Micko, because he was unique, but he was of us, and we're very proud of him.
And he always will be. He always will be. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to come and see us. I know you're heading to Kerry to say your goodbyes tomorrow, along with so many others. We appreciate you sharing your memories and our thoughts and our prayers and our strength to Mick's family for the days ahead. Thank you to Jack O'Shea, to Jimmy Deanahan, to Johnny Doyle, to Ross Munley, to Des Cahill and Marty Morrissey. And we will leave the last word to the man himself. Here's Micko.
I have one regret in life, to be honest. I will say that without fear of contradiction. I packed everything I wanted to into the 82 years that I've spent on this planet. I've enjoyed every moment of it.
May he rest in peace.